Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far and welcome to today's video, which is going to be me sharing absolutely everything I've learned about fragrance, niche fragrance, luxury fragrance. I have taken a deep dive down that road over the past sort of 5-ish years and I've learned so much. I feel like it's so overwhelming, it's so daunting, you don't know where to start, and it's very, very confusing when you start trying to learn all of the terms and the notes, and it's all so much and it's so confusing. So today I'm going to be sharing my top tips for how to get started with fragrance for dummies. If you are a fragrance dummy like I was and you need like the absolute easiest tips to get started finding your signature fragrance, finding new fragrances that you're going to be obsessed with, then this video is for you. So let's get started. Okay, so about sort of 5-6 years ago, something like that, I had a few designer fragrances, a few designer perfumes, usually like 1 or 2 at a time on the go. That was my life back then. Things have slightly changed now. That's my warning to you. It's quite easy to get addicted. It's quite easy to go straight down the rabbit hole and suddenly you're a frag head. But I started to really crave more than what my fragrances were giving me. Like, I had some perfumes that I liked and they were fine, but I just always felt like I was missing something and they just weren't quite like really gripping me. Like, I wanted perfumes that everybody could get a waft of. I wanted to be the girl that everyone asks, what perfume are you wearing? Whenever anyone got asked that question, I was jealous. I wanted it to be me. I wanted to smell delicious, delightful, but different. I didn't want to smell the same as everybody else. I wanted to smell special, unique, and I wanted everyone to know what fragrance I was wearing. I don't know what was wrong with me. I can't explain it, but that's how I felt. I just wanted to be that woman who smells phenomenal, and I wanted that to be like on my gravestone. That girl who smelled great. I mean, there are other more important things that could be on there, but I wanted it on the list, is what I'm saying. But where on earth do you start? You know, if you've literally got a couple of designer perfumes that were gifted to you perhaps at Christmas or birthday, and you've just gone with it and you just don't really know, what are you looking for? What do you like? And when you go onto fragrance websites, oh my gosh, it's all this information with all of these terms. Where do you start? You're daunted. I'm here to help you. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to start with what you have. That's the most important thing. We're not going to start throwing money at the problem just yet, okay? Hold your horses. Don't start throwing money down the drain, because perfume's dangerous business, pricey business, okay? Can be expensive mistakes. They're very, very subjective. Not everybody is going to love the same perfumes. They're not even going to smell the same on you as they do on the next person, as if it's not complicated enough. So what you're going to do is, without spending any money, you're going to start with the perfumes you already own, or the perfumes that you're already familiar with, that you've already smelled, that you already know that you like something about. It may be that you went into Boots and you sprayed some testers and you remember, I like that one. That one was nice. It may be that you were gifted one. It may be that someone you know they wear this fragrance and you know that you like that. And you're going to start there. Make a list of some perfumes that you've smelt, that you own, that you like something about. Maybe you don't love the fragrance. Maybe it doesn't perform as well as you want it to. It doesn't wear very long. You can't really smell it for very long, but you do like how it smells, you know? That's what you're going to do. You're going to make a list of all of the perfumes that you've either smelt on someone, that you know someone that has it, that you smelt in a shop, and something about it appealed to you. It might not have been the one, but you did like something about it. You're going to start writing it all down. The second thing that I would tell you, for when I started to where I am now, has taught me 90% of what I know, okay, is Fragrantica. The website, fragrantica.com. I cannot recommend highly enough that you start an account on that website. If you really want to learn about fragrance, get to know fragrance, and you want help, choosing your next fragrance or knowing where to start and working out the notes that appeal to you, that work for you, all of that stuff. You cannot do a better thing. If you do one thing from this video and ignore everything else, do this one thing. This is the one thing to pick, okay? Join Fragrantica.com. I feel like this sounds like an ad. It's not. They don't know I exist or anything. This is just the number one thing that really massively, completely changed the game for me, because it is a fragrance website that is very much like an in-depth fragrance experts, reviews, and all of the information, but it's presented in such a good way for fragrance dummies like me and like possibly you if you're here watching this video. It is so flipping helpful. I can't say enough good things about it. It's got pictures. Okay, it's got pictures, which if you don't really know what's going on, pictures, I can understand a picture, you know, it was helpful is what I'm saying. So you're going to start an account on Fragrantica, and here's where you're going to use all that information that you got from the fragrances that you smelled before, that you liked something about, that you own, that you liked something about. And on Fragrantica, you can start adding perfumes to your I own list. So anything that you already own, you can add it to your list in your account. I own these perfumes, and you can look at each one. So for me, a fragrance that I sort of remember really loving for a very long time at the very beginning of, before I started even reading or thinking or watching videos about fragrances, one of my absolute favorites when I was like in my 20s was Viktor & Rolf's Flower Bomb. Oh, I loved it so much. So that is definitely one that I would have written down on my list, Flower Bomb. I loved it. It was really, really beautiful. And now I feel like I'm ready for like a more sophisticated, more mature version of Flower Bomb. So I whack Flower Bomb into my, I already own that. And you can see everything about Flower Bomb. So you can read about it. It's an amber floral fragrance. So that's number one. You can see all of the notes that it has in Flower Bomb. So you can see, you know, it has tea, rose, orchid, musk, vanilla, patchouli. And I'm really thinking, do you know what? It's really the dry down of Flower Bomb that I really love. Patchouli, musk, and vanilla. Okay, so maybe those are notes that I am interested in. The other thing I really loved about Flower Bomb is that it was a real compliment getter. It obviously was projecting really well. So terms that you're going to hear on Fragrantica, sillage and projection, which are essentially the same thing. For our purposes, it's the same thing. It's how far a fragrance travels from your body. So if you're smelling your wrist and you can just about make a fragrance out, its sillage is poor. If you're walking about with a fragrance on and people from like across the room are commenting on it, its sillage is good, very big. Some people want a close to the skin, smaller, lighter, weaker sillage. Some people want people in the next country over to smell them, and you'll want a bigger, stronger, better, more powerful sillage. Hopefully that explains that one little term. Really, I feel like it's the only real sort of technical term you need to know. Everything else, don't worry so much about it. So the other amazing thing on Fragrantica is the section that says it reminds me of. So you can scroll down, you know you like that perfume, scroll down to the reminds me of section, and it's going to tell you other fragrances that are along the same lines. If you like Flower Bomb, you'll probably like these. So you've got Lancome's La Vie Est Belle, which I would completely agree. They're very much the same ilk. They're sweet, sort of floral hints in there, very feminine smelling fragrances that perform very well. So immediately you've got another one that you might be interested in. But it also gives you another section, which is people who like this perfume also like these perfumes. Another really good way to start. The other great way to use Fragrantica is to look at the notes. When you start to realize, do you know what, I like or I want to try a fragrance that is really rosy, really potently rosy, and you can click on any of these notes and get a list of fragrances that have rose notes in it to read about. And the other thing that is super duper great about Fragrantica is the community. One, they have like a whole beginners like fragrance community page. They have all different rooms to chat fragrance, to ask questions. I've asked dummy questions on there, and you get all these amazing fragrance experts who will help you and tell you the answers and give you advice. The reviews on there are so helpful. They'll tell you in layman's terms what the fragrances smell like. They'll tell you how it performs. They will tell you what it reminds them of. There is just so much information on there that is so easy to understand, even for the biggest beginner going. So I would take a deep dive on Fragrantica. Start adding on perfumes you've smelt before, so you build up a bit of a list. Start exploring them. Look at the notes that are in those fragrances that you like. Can you pick any out? Can you pick out the rose in that fragrance, and do you like it or not? Would you rather the rose wasn't in there? Start to build up, okay, these are the notes I like, these are the notes I don't. I noticed early on that I'm really drawn to fragrances that contain saffron. I immediately realized that's one of my favorite notes to have in fragrance. I also discovered that I had smelled Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille at an airport. And I loved the opening, but as it dried down, it kind of just, one, disappeared off of my skin. I couldn't really smell it after a couple of hours. And it also just became like a skin scent basic vanilla on me. But I really loved like the beginning and the middle of Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille, but I wanted something that was going to perform better than that and stay interesting for longer. So again, I went straight to Tobacco Vanille and I looked at the reviews and I read about people's, oh, if you like this, but it didn't perform well on you, try these. And I ended up finding so many fragrances. Initio's Side Effect. I found the amazing Red Tobacco by Mancera, which is literally like tobacco, the tobacco scent that just performs incredibly well and stays really interesting and really tobacco-y throughout the journey of the scent. So it's very helpful if you know, I like that, but I don't love it. It will help you find that but love it version. So please, I beg you, register with Fragrantica, even if it seems intimidating at first. Just look around, just have a little browse, see what you can find, investigate, read about the notes, read some of the reviews, start adding the perfumes you already know or are familiar with to your profile, maybe have a read of some of the community tab and the conversations going on there, and that is a great place to start. So once you've registered with Fragrantica and you've started to learn about the categories and the notes and the performance, and you're starting to build up an idea of maybe some notes that you quite like or some notes that you would like to try, you've started to learn the categories of fragrance that you either like or are interested in. So categories that might be floral, they might be gourmand, which basically means edible. It smells like sweets or cakes or cookies. You might like warm, spicy fragrances, which does exactly what it says on the tin. You might like fresh fragrances, which are something perfect for summer. So there's categories of fragrance, kind of most of them self-explanatory, some not so much. Start to build a little bit of knowledge there about the categories that you like, some of the notes that you like, and what you're looking for in a fragrance. I learned early on, based on reviews and what other people were saying about fragrances that I tried, that my skin eats fragrance for breakfast. I learned that basically if a fragrance has an average performance, it's going to suck on me. It's not going to last and no one else is ever going to smell it because my fragrance just gobbles it all up and I don't know where it goes, but it's gone. So I learned early on that I needed fragrances that were called performance bombs, a sillage bomb. I need fragrances that are described as bombs, which means usually for other people, they're like filling a room and no one can breathe. But on me, that's a normal fragrance because my skin will just have gobbled half of it up by breakfast. So my kind of first lessons that I learned from Fragrantica was, one, I love a warm, spicy fragrance. I learned that some of my favorite notes are tobacco and saffron, and I also love caramel. I quite like vanilla if it's not too heavy. I learned some of my favorite notes and that I love a warm, spicy fragrance. I also learned some notes that I don't like, so that's also super valuable knowledge to have. Then what you want to do once you've got a bit of a basis is not to start going out blind buying £400 bottles of perfume willy-nilly. Stop. We're not ready for that yet. I don't know if we're ever ready for that, honestly. Your next step is going to be fragrance sampling. And what I mean by this is not going into Boots and spraying all of the perfumes all over your body until your nose is so confused. You don't know if you're up or down. You don't know if you're inside or outside. You don't know who you are anymore. All you can smell is 400 different notes. You're drowning. You don't know which one you sprayed on that right wrist to begin with, but you like it. And then 4 hours later, one of them smells amazing, but who knows which one it is. What we're going to do instead is order some samples or discovery sets. They are amazing. So your average fragrance sample looks something like this. This is a 2ml fragrance sample, and I have quite the collection of them, as you can see. I've got carried away is what I'm saying. It's easily done, okay? And then this is a very generous 7.5ml sample. This is Kilian's Roses on Ice, and this is one that I got free when I purchased a full-size fragrance. So the ones that you will sort of get either for free when you order something else, or the ones that you can order from fragrance sampling websites. So these are websites where they carry lots and lots of different houses. You can just go on there, search for the perfume that you are interested in, and you can purchase samples. And typically they give you size options starting from like a 1ml, which is going to give you basically like 1 or 2 uses, 1 or 2 sort of 3 sprays, and then you have like a 2ml, which for me I would say is the minimum that you want to purchase, because really if you're going to really learn a fragrance and get to know if it's right for you, you want to use it, you know, at least like a few times before you can really decide if you want to buy it or not. So I would say get at least a 2ml spray. So I have used Fragrance Samples UK. I've also used Yuniqu. So Yuniqu is a subscription service. So they actually send you these pretty large samples. I think these again are like more like 7ml, something like that. These are designed to be a month supply or 30-day supply. So a really good size, but they will send you the odd little case, so you can use it as a travel fragrance as well. But you sign up, I think, to like a subscription, and you get like 1 fragrance a month that you can choose, and you can decide which ones you want to have next and all of that. So those are the ones that I've used. I know there are many, many more that you can choose from, where you just go on the website and you can pick as many as you want, whatever size that you want, and order these samples, and you'll get a little sample like this that you can use. Now the warning is, with these samples, these Diddy ones especially, this spray is obviously in no way similar to a full-size perfume bottle spray. So that was something I learned quite quickly, is I was sort of giving myself 1 or 2 sprays of this and being like, can hardly smell it, what's going on? But what you have to realize is 1 or 2 sprays of a full-size perfume bottle is like 100 spray. Well, I'm exaggerating. It's like 5 of these. So you need to spray a lot of sprays of these little ones to get what would be a normal perfume application with a much bigger bottle and a much bigger sprayer. So that's just a little tip that took me a while to realize. But that's what you're going to do. You're going to make a list of a few perfumes that you want to try, and you're going to go on these sample websites and order a few samples. Don't go nuts, okay? Because if we're talking about niche fragrances or really luxury fragrance houses, these samples that you think should be like 50p can be like £7-8, even more. Okay, they aren't cheap. And if you're going to start ordering 20 of them, you know, you could have purchased a full bottle. So don't go crazy. Don't let it get away from you. Decide you're going to try 5 fragrances, and you're going to order, you know, 2ml fragrance samples of them and see how you like it. The other option for starting to actually try fragrances without laying down hundreds of pounds are discovery sets, which I love, okay? They're an amazing gift as well for someone who loves fragrance or is wanting to get into fragrance, or anyone really who might enjoy wearing fragrance. These discovery sets are amazing. Lots of big brands do these days. Initio, Kilian, Parfums de Marly, Creed. A lot of these brands will sell these luxurious like sample sets of 5 or 6 of their favorite fragrances. And this time of year as well, Lots of houses do advent calendars, although those are going to set you back quite a few more pounds. But again, a great gift for a fragrance lover or someone trying to get into fragrance, because you get a load of really amazing samples in those advent calendars. But the discovery sets are available all year round and at a much more reasonable price point. And you can sometimes pick your own combinations to go in there. If you go onto the Fragrance House's website, so if you go onto parfumsdemali.com or Kilian.com, a lot of those Penhaligon's, I know, do it because I did my own on there, where you can select 5 or 6 or whatever number you want and choose your own options and make your own little discovery set that's personalized to the fragrances you wanted to try. I did this recently, I think it was on BDK perfumes. I had one specifically I wanted to try, but I was curious about a few others, so I chose to get a discovery set and I chose my own fragrances. And they are so much fun. If you love perfumes, oh, they're so much fun. A lot of them will also come with these little slips that you can spray the perfume on, because you really want to take your time. You don't want to start spraying 5 perfumes all over your body because they get mixed up and your nose gets confused. Just try one at a time. The next day, try a different one. I started writing notes and it's just so much fun. I love playing with those discovery sets, but the chances are, you know, if you've chosen the fragrances that you're interested in, that you're going to find one in those discovery sets that you really love. And then once you've found one fragrance that is really tickling your pickle and is really appealing to you, you got to dissect it, okay? You're going to go into Fragrantica again and you're going to read all about this perfume. This perfume is amazing. This is a love. You're going to learn about the notes. Again, smelling the perfume, are there any of those notes that you think, that's what that is? I can discern that note from the others. You're going to read the reviews. You're going to look at the other perfumes people love that love this one. Read the recommendations in the comments in the reviews. Look at other perfumes that are similar to this one in that section. And that's how you build and go from there. Another top tip that I would give you is, if you're looking at niche fragrances, I always recommend ordering directly from the perfume house's own website. A lot of these perfumes, these niche fragrances, are available on Harrods or Harvey Nichols, some on Selfridges. So, you know, it's tempting to go from there. You know and trust those websites, you know the retailers, so it feels more comfortable to order these fragrances from there than these sort of random websites that you're maybe not familiar with. But that's a mistake, and I'll explain why. If you order direct from a fragrance house, so I've ordered directly from Parfums de Marly, I've ordered directly from Kilian, BDK, I've ordered directly from Initio, from Montal, I've ordered directly from lots of different fragrance house websites. I've never had a bad experience. The shipping has always actually been very, very good. Most of them will cover taxes and duties at checkout, so you don't have to get worried about, you know, there being a stoppage when it comes to customs, because a lot of these fragrance companies are based in France. So, you know, you might worry about them getting stopped on the border, but they don't. They cover, and it will say very clearly if they do or don't cover taxes and duties, which is amazing. But they always do excellent samples, gifts, packaging. It's all part of the experience for me, that it's so luxurious and it's so fun and amazing, and it feels so special when you get this stunning box and inside there's another stunning box with a ribbon tied around and the beautiful tissue paper and the stunning external box. And these fragrance companies spoil you. They love it. They love to give you like 5 or 6 different samples and gifts with purchases, you know, and they are so good for like travel or purse perfumes. You know, these sort of fragrances that are all like gifts with purchase, Kilian's really good at doing it. Really good. That's so perfect to put in your handbag and carry it around as a fragrance. Montal does the little teeny sort of tin samples, amazing. You know, this is how I discovered Kilian's apple brandy, because I got one of these free samples with one of my orders. Oh my gosh, it's one of my favorites ever. It was an instant, I need the full bottle. But they're so ideal for keeping in your handbag and just also getting to try more fragrances. You know, you're buying a fragrance from a house, presumably you like that house, you like their style of perfumes, you've liked one enough to buy the full-size bottle. So it makes sense that you might like other fragrances that they have. And therefore, when you get free samples from that house, that's really useful. And you won't get that from Harvey Nichols or Harrods. They won't give you samples. They won't give you free gifts with your purchase. You will only get that direct from the house's own website. So I think it's really worth doing that, because if you get free samples and free gifts and like travel sized fragrances with your purchase, it's really going to help you try more fragrances for free without any extra cost, or obviously other than the very expensive bottle of perfume that you already purchased. Now, my final tip is a budget, okay? Budget. I've already said about how easy it is to get carried away buying like 100 samples because you think, oh, it's only £2. Yes, but if you buy 400 of them, that's quite a lot of money, you know? So calm down, budget, decide if you're buying samples, decide how many is reasonable. Is it 5 or is it 10? Decide how many it is before you start thinking it'd be better just to save up and buy a full bottle. You know, go easy on the samples, they can add up. But when it comes to perfume, once you start finding these insane life-changing fragrances that you're obsessed with and that everybody's telling you you smell like a goddess in a dream and everyone wants to know what perfume you're wearing and no one else has the same one as you, it's addictive and you want 100 of them, and soon you've got to buy a whole entire storage rack for your new perfumes when you used to own 2. That might just be me, but it happens, okay? I speak from experience. But for me, I just really loved and enjoyed investing in perfumes, and it very much became like a hobby and a passion, and I love my fragrance collection now. But I now have got to the point where I really don't want any more, because I really love using them and I don't get a chance to use. If I end up with 400 perfumes, I'll never use 90% of them because it's just too much. So I've set myself now the sort of budget or the goal that I don't purchase more than 1 perfume a month. And if I don't really want one and it doesn't add to my collection, or it's not something different and I'm not really excited about it, that can be none per month as well, but a maximum of 1 a month, because it's quite easy to buy 2 or 3 a month, and soon they're coming out of your ears. So by all means, especially when you're starting off and it's really easy to get carried away, start buying 15 a month and actually then realize you didn't like some of them, or some of them are almost exactly the same, so you didn't need both. Set yourself before you get started. I'm going to buy 1 a month, or I'm going to buy 1 every 3 months, or I'm going to buy 1 every 6 months. Whatever is reasonable to you, that will look totally different for each person. But just have a number in your mind as to the maximum amount of money that you want to spend on a fragrance and how often you want to buy a new fragrance. It's going to look completely different for every single person, but I think it's good for each of us to have that personal sort of boundary to know, I'm not going to go crazy, this is what's reasonable to me and that's what I'm going to stick to, because it is so tempting and it's delightful being surrounded by all these glorious smells all the time. Let's not get carried away and lose our minds and all of our money too. Okay, so I will link all of the websites and the sampling sites that I have spoken about today in the description box so that you can see them. As I said throughout the video, if you're going to do one thing that I've spoken about, you're going to pick your favorite thing, I highly recommend Fragrantica. It's just the perfect place if you want to learn more about notes, fragrance, houses, sillage, projection. You want to hear what other people have to advise you. You want to ask questions to a big group of people who know lots about fragrance. You want to read expert reviews, compare perfumes, find out where to get them, all of that amazing stuff. You cannot go wrong, okay? It's the perfect place to start if you are starting feeling overwhelmed and like you don't know anything. So I really hope you found this helpful, and I would love to see you in the next video. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.